Welcome back to Any Recapped. Today we will cover Alice in Borderland. Hope you enjoy. The show starts with our main character Ryo Hayarisu, Alice in English, sitting on a bench and dreaming about visiting a foreign country. He is joined by his friends Dakichi, Karubi, and Chada Segawa, who share his dream. Alice thinks to himself that he isn't a hero or a sorcerer in this world. Instead, he is an NPC player who holds little to no value. Close by, the group sees fireworks and turns their attention toward them. Just then, a huge firework shoots up in the sky, which surprises Alice. It explodes, flashing the trio, and its explosion can be seen from space. In the morning, Alice wakes up on a beach along with his friends, and they wonder how they got there. The trio enters the city and sees no trace of any life. The place is abandoned and nature has taken over the buildings. They force open a grocery store, and Alice finds canned food that is still in good condition. Karub expresses his worries, but Segawa doesn't care because he thinks they are dreaming. Alice walks out and states that even though they are in a messed up situation, it excites him. Segawa joins him in his invitation, and Karub looks upon them in utter disappointment. Segawa states that there aren't any parents or teachers to order him around and celebrates his freedom. At night, the duo is still convinced that this is all a dream, and Karub gives them a reality check. He asks them to take this seriously, but to no avail. The other two don't mind living here as long as they are free, but Karub, the sensible one, wants them to not lose their common sense. As they converse, they hear music playing nearby. They follow the light across the river and reach a market decorated with lamps. They see quality food and items on display, and Segawa is once again convinced that they are in a dream. The duo enjoys themselves, but a vendor nearby says they have been entered into the game and there is no way out of there. Karub asks them to leave this place as it can be dangerous, but a woman stops him as soon as he is about to leave. She throws a cigarette at the entrance gate, which burns to a crisp and demonstrates that they are stuck here and this isn't a dream. The vendor informs them that the difficulty has been set to 3 clubs, and the game will start when all 4 of them draw a slip, and not drawing means a loss for all 4 of them. Karub asks the woman to give them details, and she reveals herself to be Shibuki. She explains that the games falling in the club category are relatively easy, and the number 3 is the degree of difficulty. She thinks that they can all leave alive if they pay attention. Alice is still confused about many things, so he asks her further questions. She tells him to stop questioning and assess the situation. They reach the fortune box, and Karub pulls out a fortune slip. It states that he is the general and the person he is waiting for will arrive soon. It further tells him that the ideal direction is south, which confuses them. As Segawa draws, Karub asks Shibuki if she has seen people die, and she replies in affirmation. Segawa's slip has a question written on it, and the vendor informs him that he must answer it. Karub asks Shibuki why she is playing this game again if she has already played it. She doesn't give away much and tells him she just wants to survive. Segawa solves the question and says that the answer is 18, but the vendor tells him that the correct answer is 15, and he will be shot dead for the incorrect answer. Just then, a couple of flaming arrows are seen in the sky, and they all barely miss, which terrifies him. They question the game's morals, but Shibuki tells them they will all die if all the lamps go off, so they must face reality. She draws her slip, which states a very difficult question, and Karub approaches her to help. Alice is in disbelief and has a breakdown, wishing he could return to his original life. Karub tells them to be prepared as Shibuki answers the question. She gets it wrong by a huge margin, and they see hundreds of flaming arrows in the sky. Others run for shelter, but Alice's feet are frozen as he's stunned by the situation. Karub knocks sense into him, and he takes cover just in time. However, Segawa cannot take cover and gets shot in the leg. He shrieks in pain, but Karub heroically saves him and states that his blood is pumping in excitement. Seeing him fired up motivates Alice, who draws a slip for himself. However, his enthusiasm is broken when he draws the worst possible slip. Shibuki looks at it and says it's impossible to answer this question, breaking their spirit. Alice ignores everyone and focuses hard on the question. He analyzes all the situations and answers the question. The vendor tells him that the answer is incorrect, but Alice reveals that they never had a chance to get the correct answer. Instead, they were supposed to find a hiding spot. He also explains how the arrows were shot from the directions opposing the ones mentioned on their slips, and now the arrows will rain from the north. As the arrows rain, they run toward the south and find a well. However, the well is filled with sand, but under it is a level that leads them to an apartment. The vendor there congratulates them for clearing the game, and they all celebrate their win. A slip comes out of the vendor, which gives them a 3-day visa to stay alive in this place called Borderland. Shibukai explains to them that several players are participating, and the difficulty of the game corresponds to the number of days they can stay without playing another game. Inside a hotel, they find a terrified man in a room who refuses to take part in another game. Suddenly, a laser hits the building, killing the man, and Shibuki tells them that this is what happens if their visa expires. We see Karub as a bar owner complaining about Segawa and Alice taking free drinks from him. Alice arrives and notices Segawa, who commends Karub for owning a bar despite being the same age as them. Karub reveals that he will buy a ranch in Australia and live his life herding sheep. Karub jokes about Alice having no skill, but he says that if they were sent to an unknown place and had to participate in a survival game, he would excel in that situation. Alice wakes up from this dream and states that all of his previous life felt like a dream and this place is his reality. Later, Karub makes food for them, but Alice and Segawa complain that it has no taste. As they savor the moment, Karub tells them they should participate in another game tonight. It is further explained that the game they are playing is called Tag, and they will be running around in this complex to avoid the killer. The game difficulty is 5 spades, and a man in a hat explains to them that the spade games are the ones that require physical strength. It is explained that there is only one unlocked room in the whole complex, and it homes the killer. The game will be over if the 30-minute timer runs out or all the players are killed. The building will blow up after 30 minutes and is surrounded by mines in case a player tries to escape. Alice analyzes the building and realizes there are stairs in each floor's central, southern, and western wings and an elevator in the center. They start on the 9th floor, and a mysterious boy on the top floor reveals how choosing the first spot to hide is the most important aspect of the game. He states that no one knows where the killer is coming from, hence the top floor is the best option since he can watch over all the floors below and assess the situation. The killer is set loose and everyone hears the thud from the door. The man on the top floor analyzes that the killer must be from the southern wing. The killing starts and our trio finds a dead body on the stairs to the upper floor. Just then, the killer finds them and starts shooting them. The man with the hat runs away while Alice and Karub hide from him. The duo runs to the upper floors and the hatted man is found and killed. The two catch a breather and Alice reveals they can't win by running away, so they must find the home base. Karub shouts to inform everyone about the killer's location, and that they must help each other to find his home base. The man on the top floor is skeptical and doesn't want to trust the information coming from strangers. A pink-haired girl informs everyone that the killer is on the 6th floor and climbs to the 7th floor through the balcony. Meanwhile, a man tries to leave the building but gets blown to bits. The duo fails to look for the home base, but Karub asks him to keep looking. He runs to the end of the hallway, but Alice gets stuck with the killer as he is exhausted from all the running. As the killer approaches, he tries to hold his breath, hoping he wasn't seen by him. Karub runs to the lower flood and finds 2 men, who want to hunt the killer instead of running from him. The killer walks past Alice without noticing, and Karub purposely reveals himself to lead him into a trap. They blind him using a fire extinguisher, and as he runs out of bullets, one of them tries to snap his neck. The killer has another gun, killing the two and leaving Karub in a difficult spot. Alice notices Karub running from the killer, and the killer shoots at him instead of Karub. He finds it weird and realizes that the killer only needs to protect his home base, so he gives warning shots before killing. Karub joins him, and they both coordinate an attack to reveal the home base. Inside, there are 2 buttons that need to be pressed simultaneously. Karub is busy restraining the killer, so he is unable to help. Luckily, the pink-haired girl arrives at Alice's call, and they both press the button to finish the game. The duo survives and reunites with the rest outside the building. Karub sees the mysterious boy taking a card from the dead killer and asks him what he knows about the game. He refuses to answer but leaves him with a clue that the radios still exist in this world and he can find them in abandoned cars and taxis. Later, Karub finds one in a car and a man on the radio shouts to come to visit the beach for information. Back in the hotel, Segawa is scared about his upcoming game and Shibuki consoles him by saying he feels the same way. She bursts into tears and says she wants to return to her world. Alice recalls the pink-haired girl coming just in time to press the button. She reveals herself as Usagi Yuzawa, and Alice asks her to join their group. She refuses and says she won't survive if she gives in to her feelings. She further says that a day might come when friends turn on each other to survive the game. Alice doesn't believe that, and he is sure he will survive with his friends. Back in the hotel, Shibuki wants to enjoy the day in case they don't survive tomorrow. She reveals that her first game was 2 of Hearts. Hearts are psychology-related games that mess with the minds of the players who want to survive. She was in a moving train of 4 carriages, one of which had a lethal poisonous gas. She had to use a gas mask with 3 gas cylinders to survive. She was short on 1 mask and had to guess her way out to win. She didn't wish to survive as she opened the final door but found another mask in the 4th carriage. She states that it was an evil game that made her feel terrible. The group enters the game hall at night and is determined to survive. They enter and see a bunch of weapons and collars at the entrance. They put them on and enter a nursery where the game rules are explained. The game difficulty is 7 of hearts, and it's a hide-and-seek game where 3 of them are sheep who have to avoid the wolf's gaze. If a sheep is detected, they become the wolf, and the others are given a 3-second grace period to move out of sight. The group is surprised to know that they have to compete against each other, and that whoever is left wolf in the end will die. However, the clear condition for the game is to be the wolf in the end, which stuns the whole group. Once the timer is over, the collar on the sheep will explode, killing them in the process. The game starts and the first wolf is chosen to be Segawa. It dawns on Alice that only one of them will leave this game alive. Karub asks Alice to think of a way in which all 4 of them can survive. The wolf is transferred to Shibuki, who apologizes and runs off. Karub runs after her and threatens to kill her, but she closes her eyes to avoid losing the wolf. Karub is about to kill her but tells him that if she dies, the wolf will not be able to find the sheep and they will all die when the timer runs out. Karub tries to choke her, but she uses the axe to free herself. As she gets up, she accidentally looks at Segawa, who runs away with the wolf. Alice follows him and yells at him to stop. He turns around, looks at Alice, and transfers his wolf to him. With tears in his eyes, he begs Alice to not abandon him as they are best friends. Alice tells him they're no longer friends and runs away. He hides in the bushes while the group searches for him. As he curses the game developers, Segawa uses the radio to talk to the group. He reveals that while Karub and Alice were trying their best to survive, he and Shibuki had sex, which surprises Alice. Segawa then regrets running away with the wolf because he thinks he betrayed his best friends and apologizes to them. Upon hearing this, Alice recalls how Segawa and Karub have been there for him when he needed them the most. He tears up and informs the rest that he is withdrawing from this game and anyone who wants to live can meet him at the entrance and take the wolf from him. He says that a life that comes at the cost of friends isn't worth living. Hence, he doesn't want to win. Upon hearing this, Karub drops his axe and thanks the rest for reminding him that friendship is more important to him than his own life. Segawa refuses to come out as he thinks that giving his life to save his friend is something he will never regret. Upon hearing the friends willing to die for each other, Shibuki tears up and refuses to see Alice as she cannot bear the burden of sacrificing them for herself. Alice begs them to come forward, but Karub cuts him off while lighting a cigarette and tells him about the dream of having a sheep farm in Australia. He explains that he had that dream because Alice once told him he wanted to visit Australia. Alice recalls telling him that he wants to become a writer for newspapers and magazines. He also told him that he will write a journal about his life daily and publish it someday. Bevi revealed that he wanted to go to Australia, and ever since, Karub wanted to have a farm there so Alice would visit him and they could have a beer together, remembering their friendship. With tears in his eyes, Alice runs around, desperately looking for the rest, but they hide from him. Before the timer runs out, Karub, Shibuki, and Segawa say their final words, and we see the 3 explosions. Karub's cigarette falls, setting the whole dome on fire. Usagi approaches a defeated Alice and offers to team up. He curses the game creators for creating such a horrible game, and Usagi lends him a hand, stating they will survive together. Will Alice be able to find his way back home? Let's find out when the next season comes. For now, please leave us a like and subscribe if you enjoyed.